I paid for my nephew's prestigious education. At his graduation, my sister claimed we worked so hard for his education. When university came, I donated his savings to charity. Now he attends local college. So there I was, sitting in this fancy schmancy private school auditorium surrounded by proud parents in their Sunday best, watching my nephew walk across the stage in his little cap and gown. I'm not gonna lie, I was getting all misty-eyed behind my Ray-Bans. This kid, my sister's boy, was smart as a whip and headed for big things. And yeah, I'd been footing the bill for his education at Westlake Academy since kindergarten. Not exactly Walmart prices, if you catch my drift. My sister and her husband, they've always been the type to flex on social media about their blessed life, while their credit cards are maxed out behind the scenes, like those Instagram couples who pose in front of rented Lamborghinis, you know? Meanwhile, I'd been quietly making sure my nephew got the best education possible because that kid deserved a shot at greatness. When graduation day rolled around, I was pumped. Drove my Jeep all the way from Chicago, booked a room at the Marriott, nearby even brought a gift, this sick Apple MacBook Pro for his high school graduation. Kid needed it for college anyway, and I figured he'd earned it with those straight A's. So imagine my surprise when my sister Sarah gets up to give this little speech at the graduation party I paid for at this swanky golf club. She's standing there in her Nordstrom dress, that I'm pretty sure still has the tags tucked in for a return later, holding her Chardonnay, and going on about how we worked so hard to give our son the best education. We? I nearly choked on my IPA. Not a single mention of her sister, yours truly, who wrote those fat checks every semester. Not even a nod in my direction. Just her and her husband Todd acting like they'd been grinding double shifts at the factory or something. Meanwhile, Todd just got himself a new F-150 last month while claiming they were too broke to chip in for the graduation party. But hey, I kept my cool, smiled, and stayed silent. That's always been my style. I'm not about to make a scene at my nephew's big day. Besides, anyone who really knew the situation was giving me these side-eye looks like, you hearing this nonsense? The real kicker came after the party. Sarah cornered me by the chocolate fountain and had the audacity to say, "So, Harvard's going to be about 60 grand a year. We're counting on you to come through like you always do. Not a request, not even a thank you. Just an expectation, like I was some kind of education ATM." That night in my hotel room, I made a decision while flipping through channels and nursing a Jack and Coke. I'd been saving for years in a special account for my nephew's college education. I'd planned to surprise him with it after graduation, enough to cover Harvard, Yale, wherever he wanted to go. But something in me just snapped. The next morning, I called my financial advisor and transferred every penny of that college fund, we're talking close to 300 grand, to the Children's Hospital Foundation. They even named a recovery room after my nephew. Imagine that. His name on a plaque helping sick kids, instead of paying for his entitled mother's bragging rights at her country club. I flew home the next day without saying goodbye. Figured I'd let them discover the situation on their own terms. Update. Y'all, the responses to this story are blowing up my notifications. Thanks for the support. My sister's been blowing up my phone for days, but I haven't answered. Part of me feels guilty about my nephew. Did I punish him for his mom's ego trip? He got into Harvard, for crying out loud. Should I have found another way to teach my sister a lesson without affecting his future? 2 months later, it happened. My phone lit up with Sarah's face while I was watching the Cubs game from my couch. I almost let it go to voicemail, but curiosity got the better of me. "Hey, what's up?" I answered, casual as could be. "What do you mean, what's up?" Her voice could have cracked my TV screen. "We just got off the phone with Harvard's financial aid office. They said there's no college fund in Tyler's name. None. Zero. What happened to the money you've been saving?" I took a long sip of my Bud Light before answering. "Oh, that money? I donated it." The silence on the other end was so thick you could have spread it on toast. "You? What?" "Yeah, gave it to Children's Hospital. They even named a recovery room after Tyler. Pretty cool, right? Figure that'll look good on his resume someday. But, how is he supposed to go to Harvard?" Her voice had that trembling quality, like she was about to either cry or throw her phone through a window. "I figured since you worked so hard for his education," I said, echoing her exact words from the graduation party, "you'd handle university too." More silence. Then a string of words that definitely weren't appropriate for the Children's Hospital I'd just donated to. "We can't afford Harvard. You know that. We've been counting on you." "Huh," I said, flipping to the sports highlights. "That's weird. Because according to your speech, you guys sacrificed everything for Tyler's education, made it sound like you were breaking your backs to make it happen, so I just assumed you had it covered." I could practically hear her brain short-circuiting. "You did this because of my speech? Are you serious? You're punishing Tyler because your feelings got hurt?" That got to me. "Hold up," I said, muting the TV. "I'm not punishing Tyler. I paid for 12 years of private education, bought him a MacBook Pro, and donated money in his name that's literally saving children's lives. What I'm not doing is funding another expensive education that his mother's going to take credit for." She hung up on me. Classic Sarah move when she's losing an argument. Over the next few weeks, the family drama exploded like a Samsung Galaxy Note 7. My parents called saying I was being petty. My brother thought it was hilarious, but suggested I might have gone nuclear. Tyler himself sent me this heartbreaking text about how he dreamed of Harvard since he was 10. That last one nearly broke me. I called him immediately. "Listen, buddy," I said when he answered. "I love you more than anyone. You know that, right? Then why did you do this?" His voice sounded so young suddenly. Your mom has been taking credit for things I've done for you your entire life. At some point, it had to stop. I paused, trying to find the right words. But here's what I'll do. If you want to go to Harvard, I'll help you with the financial aid applications. I'll help you find scholarships. I'll even co-sign on student loans if you need me to. But I'm not handing your mom another blank check she can brag about at Thanksgiving. There was a long silence. She never told me you were the one paying for my school, he finally said. She always made it sound like they were making these huge sacrifices. Well, damn, that hit me right in the chest. I never wanted recognition, Tyler. I just wanted to give you opportunities. But your mom crossed a line this time, and I couldn't let it slide. After we hung up, I felt both terrible and vindicated. Had I gone too far? Maybe. But sometimes a lesson needs to sting to really sink in. Tyler ended up enrolling at the state university instead of Harvard. It's a solid school with a good program in his field, and he got a partial academic scholarship. I secretly started a new savings account for him, something I'd give him directly after graduation, with no strings attached and no opportunity for Sarah to play the hero. Meanwhile, Sarah and Todd had to downsize their lifestyle considerably. Suddenly, the leased BMW disappeared from their driveway, replaced by a used Honda Civic. Their annual trip to Cancun got canceled. Their social media posts about living their best life dwindled to the occasional forced smile at Tyler's local college events. Update, holy smokes. This story is getting way more attention than I expected. Some of you think I'm the villain here, and I get it. I've been wrestling with guilt too. Tyler's been distant lately, and my parents are still giving me the cold shoulder at family gatherings. Did my revenge spiral out of control? Also, plot twist, my sister's husband Todd called me yesterday asking to talk man to man. What's that about? Should I meet with him? About 6 months into Tyler's freshman year, I got a text from him asking if we could meet up. We arranged to grab dinner at this little burger joint near his campus. Nothing fancy, just good old-fashioned American comfort food. He looked good when he walked in, confident, healthy, rocking that college vibe in his university hoodie. We did our usual handshake-hug combo and settled into a booth. So how's college life treating you? I asked, trying to keep things light as we ordered a couple of Cokes and some loaded fries to start. It's actually great, he said, and I could tell he meant it. I've made some solid friends, my professors are cool, and I'm killing it in my classes. No regrets about Harvard? I had to ask. He shrugged. Sometimes, but honestly, the pressure's off here. At Harvard, I would have felt like I had to be perfect all the time. He dunked a fry in ketchup. Plus, I'm not drowning in debt like I would have been. We talked about his classes, his roommate situation, nightmare, and this girl he'd met in his chemistry lab. Normal stuff. It wasn't until our burgers arrived that he finally brought up the elephant in the room. Mom and Dad are getting divorced, he said suddenly. I nearly choked on my bacon cheeseburger. What? Since when? Since Dad found out Mom's been lying about money for years. Tyler took a long sip of his Coke. Apparently, she's been hiding credit card debt, taking out loans in his name. It's bad. Damn, I muttered. I'm sorry, Tyler. Don't be. He said, surprising me. It made me realize something. Mom's been lying to everyone, including me, for as long as I can remember. She told me you refused to help with college because you were jealous of her family. Now I was really speechless. But Dad set me straight. He showed me the checks you wrote for my tuition all these years. He even had copies of the thank you notes he sent you that Mom intercepted. Tyler's eyes were steady on mine. He said Mom made him promise never to tell me it was you paying because she wanted me to think they were providing everything. I sat back in the booth, feeling like I'd been hit by a truck. All these years, I thought Todd was in on it. Turnsy, out he'd been played too. That's why he wanted to meet with you, Tyler continued, to apologize and explain his side. He didn't know about the Harvard fund either until it was too late. Well, if that didn't make me feel like 10 kinds of fool, I'd been lumping Todd in with Sarah this whole time, thinking they were both taking advantage of my generosity. So you're not mad at me anymore? I asked cautiously. Tyler shook his head. I was never really mad, just confused and hurt. But now, I get it. He smiled a little. And honestly, State U is a better fit for me. I'm not sure I would have belonged at Harvard anyway. After dinner, we walked back to his dorm, and I gave him a long hug before leaving. On the drive home, I called Todd and agreed to meet him for coffee the next day. Our coffee meetup was awkward at first, but eventually, Todd opened up. Turned out Sarah had been living a financial double life for years. The designer clothes, the fancy vacations, the country club membership, all funded by secret credit cards and loans. She'd even been intercepting mail and forging his signature on documents. I should have paid more attention, he said, looking beaten down in his faded Carhartt jacket. But Sarah handled all the finances, and I trusted her. I get it, I said, and I really did. My sister had always been convincing. It's what made her such a successful real estate agent, and apparently, such a successful con artist in her own home. Todd and I parted on good terms. He was moving to an apartment closer to work, focusing on rebuilding his credit and making sure he stayed involved in Tyler's life. I respected that. Sarah, meanwhile, was in deep denial. According to our mother, she was telling everyone that Todd had financially abused her, that I had abandoned my nephew out of spite, and that she was the victim in all this. Classic Sarah, rewriting history to make herself look better. As for me, I started driving down to visit Tyler every few weeks. Sometimes we'd just grab pizza and watch football. Other times we'd have deeper conversations about family, truth, and what really matters in life. Update. Just wanted to say thanks for all the support, Reddit fam. It's been almost a year since this all went down, and life has taken some unexpected turns. Tyler's thriving at State U and has an internship lined up for summer. Meanwhile, I ran into my sister at the grocery store yesterday. First time we've spoken face-to-face in months. She asked if we could talk. Should I give her a chance to explain herself? Or is this just another manipulation? Part of me wants closure, but part of me knows how she operates. That grocery store run-in with Sarah led to probably the most honest conversation we'd ever had. We met at this little Starbucks, neutral territory. And for once, she wasn't dressed to impress. Just jeans, a plain sweater, no designer purse in sight. "I've been in therapy," were her first words after we got our coffees. Not exactly what I expected. "Good for you," I said, not sure where this was going. "My therapist says I have something called financial infidelity disorder." She stared into her vanilla latte. "It's like, I get a high from spending money we don't have, and then I lie to cover it up." I nodded, waiting for the other shoe to drop. The ask for money, the blame game, something. "I've been doing it since we were kids," she continued. "Remember when Mom's bracelet went missing and I blamed the cleaning lady? I pawned it to buy those Ugg boots everyone had." Honestly, I was floored. This level of self-awareness from Sarah was like seeing Bigfoot riding a unicorn. "The thing is," she said, her voice smaller now, "I didn't just lie about money. I lied about everything, including how much you've done for Tyler." I took a sip of my coffee to hide my surprise. "I was jealous," she admitted. "You've always had it together. Great job, nice place, no kids to worry about. I wanted people to think I had it together too, so I took credit for the things you did, because in my messed up head, it made me look successful." "Why are you telling me this now?" I had to ask. "Because I hit rock bottom. Lost my husband, almost lost my son, definitely lost my sister." She finally looked directly at me. "I'm not asking for forgiveness. I just wanted you to know that I see what I did, and I'm trying to be better." We talked for 2 hours that day. Real talk, no BS. She showed me her budget plan, her therapy workbooks, even the modest apartment she'd moved into after selling most of her designer stuff to pay down debt. Was it all an act? Maybe. Sarah's always been convincing, but something felt different this time. About a month later, Tyler called me with news. He'd won this prestigious departmental scholarship that would cover most of his sophomore year tuition. He was over the moon about it. Mom's reaction was the best part, he told me, excitement in his voice. When I called to tell her, she said, "That's all you, Tyler. You earned every bit of that." "No taking credit?" I asked, genuinely surprised. "Nope." She even corrected Grandma when she tried to say it was because of the private school education. Mom straight up said, "Actually, that was all my sister. I never could have afforded that on my own." Well, knock me over with a feather. That Christmas was the first time our whole family had been together since the Harvard fiasco. It was at my parents' place. Nothing fancy, just the kind of Midwestern holiday with too much food and those same old ornaments from the 90s on the tree. When I arrived, Sarah was in the kitchen helping our mom with the ham. No designer outfit, just a kiss-the-cook apron over regular clothes. Tyler was watching football with our dad. Todd wasn't there. He'd moved to Colorado for a fresh start, but he and Tyler FaceTimed regularly. Dinner was surprisingly chill. Nobody brought up the past year's drama directly. We just ate, laughed at Dad's same old jokes, and enjoyed being family again. After dessert, Sarah handed me an envelope. Inside was a check, not for the full amount I'd spent on Tyler's education. Over the years, not even close, but it was substantial. "It's a start," she said quietly. "I've been putting aside 20% of every commission. It'll take years, but I'm going to pay you back." "You don't have to do that," I said, meaning it. "Yes, I do." Her eyes were clear and determined. "Not just for my sake, but for Tyler's. He needs to see that people take responsibility for their actions." Later that night, as I was getting ready to leave, Tyler walked me to my car. "Thanks for not giving up on us," he said, giving me a bear hug that nearly crushed my ribs, even when we were a complete disaster. "That's what family does," I told him. "We mess up, we fight, we figure it out." As I drove home in my Jeep Christmas, lights reflecting off the snow-covered neighborhoods, I thought about the wild ride of the past year and a half. My nephew was thriving at a school that suited him. My sister was finally facing her demons. And me? I'd learned that sometimes the right kind of tough love can actually heal a family, not break it apart. The Harvard Fund? I don't regret donating it. Those kids at the hospital needed it more than my nephew needed an Ivy League bumper sticker. And the lesson it taught all of us about honesty, accountability, and what really matters in life, that was worth more than any fancy diploma could ever be. No cap.